Hi guys, and welcome to this video, which is kind of a preview on some of the IMs that I've received over the last couple of weeks and that I've been listening to on and off between reviewing other stuff and just kind of getting acquainted with these IMs before I actually do a review on them and tell you guys about them. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of really nice stuff here, and I'm sure that many of you will be looking forward to what I have to say about them. Anyway, let's get this started. One of the first IMs I'm going to be talking, just very briefly about it because I don't want to get too much into it, too much in depth into it, is the DUNU, the Titan X, a budget single DD. Kind of a gaming IM according to marketing being done by DUNU. Nice big V-shaped fun sound, kind of reminds me a little bit of the Soratune, the BL02, or even the Quiet C2 from Rose Techniques. Great sounding IM, really great sounding, fun, engaging, big bass, really definitely got big bass. Nice, really nice IM. The comparisons I did and that I have still been doing, I think will be satisfying. And like I said, a more budget offering from DUNU in that aspect. Next to it, I've got another DUNU, the Kima, the latest version of the Kima2. Basically, it's just an appearance of the actual driver, or the IM that is basically changed. The tuning has maintained itself the same, and I think that the Kima2 is one of those IMs that just has gone under the radar and hasn't gotten the deserved attention. It is an IM which has a tuning style which some might agree with what I'm about to say, some might not agree, but it's got a tuning style which is kind of reminiscent of the MIM Dark Magician, and it just sounds really, it sounds really great, honestly. This is definitely one of those IMs that those that like clean, detailed bass should have a listen to it. Phenomenal mids, really a very solid single DD, very well priced. That for some reason, like I said, I don't know, it just didn't get the traction that it should have gotten, and it deserved it. It definitely does deserve it. So these two offerings from DUNU, really solid. Like I said, the Titan X here will be the one that's the most novel. This one has already been around for a while now, for over a year roughly, and this is just more of an aesthetic difference that has been given to it than anything else, but solid nonetheless. Okay, so those two are two of the offerings. Let me just get this out of the way here. Well, I'll say the best for last, not really that way, but anyway, let's talk a little bit more. Yeah, this one is the Tinhifi, the T6 1+1 microplaner and a single DD. Again, nice, solidly built IM, exchangeable nozzles. I ultimately just left the nozzle that's been there the most time, and what can I say about the sound? I've heard I've heard varied opinions about it. It was a little bit bright, a little bit this, a little bit that. I will agree that with some of the nozzles, yes, it can get a little bit spicy, but with the nozzle that it's got there right now, it sounds really good. It sounds really good. I think it's a very solid alternative to something like the BQEYZ Frost, which is also a 1+1 of the same sort of configuration. Those that maybe find the Frost a little bit overly, I don't know, limited by the fact that it hasn't got the exchangeable nozzles, or maybe they can't reach out that far in terms of price. I think the versatility of the T6 makes it a very solid option, and mainly the biggest issue, the biggest attention grabber is the fact that it's got a very solid price, just over $100, and it's got that adjustability of the different nozzles, which then confer different sound styles. But it's kind of like on that vibe of the BQ, as it. But like I said, solid IM. Did some nice comparisons, and I think you guys will also be impressed with the T6. The T6, I think it's the first time in quite a bit that I've seen Tinhifi come up with something that is, I think, going to be satisfying for a wider crowd of people than what sometimes their products are. They've had some incredible products. I mean, you know, especially their planar, the original. Panda was incredible. The T2 in its various variations has been pretty decent, but I think the Panda is the one that will probably stand out as the most impressive IM that they've had in the last couple of years. Yes, they've got those really good top of the line planars and so on, but I think that the P1 Plus as well is also a very nice planar. But I think the Panda is probably the nicest or the most impressive, the one that ticked the most boxes, and now the T6 definitely also is ticking the right amount of boxes. So that's that one out of the way as well. Let's talk now. Let's talk here the IBasso, the Cookie Ti. The Cookie Ti is, let's say, the upgrade to the Klee, which is an IM which I have it as one of my favorite IMs for 2025 in terms of single DD. And it in essence uses the same driver, but they've now given it adjustable nozzles, conferring it two different tunings, a slightly different update, you know, a faceplate design, and it's a solid IM. Let me just say that much. The Cookie Ti from IBasso is a solid IM. You get either a more kind of spicy or more brighter presentation for those that are more tech savvy with the one nozzle, and the other nozzle you get a more kind of, and that presentation is more kind of similar to what the Klee is about. And then with the second nozzle you get a presentation which is a little bit more warmer, a little bit more balanced, my preference, and almost kind of tries and fetch some of the magic that you have in the IBasso Gelato Junior, which is the other IM from IBasso that they've released in the last year. But at the same time, I mean, it's when I say it fetches the vibe of the gelato, by that I mean that it's fetching that warmness, that lushness, that kind of more musical type of presentation. So you have the option of a more clinical, more technically inclined, or then a more musical, more organic presentation. But Cookie Ti, solid IM. Again, priced at a value which it has got competition, $150. It has got competition, but I think it's done enough to be a standout. And when I talk about it in more detail in the coming reviews now, in the coming days, you'll see what I mean. So that's that one out of the way. Next one, let's leave those like this. Okay, next one, the Aune IR300. Let's say the sequel to the Jasper, which was the company's single DD for many years, kind of flagship single DD. And I think the IR300 has done it in terms of what it should do and fill the shoes that it has from its Jasper brother. Really good. The adjustable nozzles on the front and the vent in the back, they're doing their work. They do give us a different sound presentation. I prefer the vent in the back opened to the closed one. I don't think that there's a significant loss of impactness or clarity to the bass that that extra sub bass that we are getting doesn't make up for. And in terms of the mids, upper mids, and really nice, a really nice sounding IM, big, very kind of physical type of bass presentation, but high quality, and that's testament to having a good driver. That's basically it. But one thing I can say about the IR300 is Aune has got a solid successor to the Jasper. The only little nitpick that I have here is a pity they didn't offer us a solid case like they did on the Jasper. But one of the most impressive IMs overall out of these IMs that I've been talking to you guys about today. Definitely one of the most impressive. So that's that out of the way. Sivga Nightingale Pro. I didn't get the chance to listen to the original Nightingale, but the Pro, for me at least, ticks all the right boxes. Impressive details. Worth, in my opinion, somehow they've managed to make that planar timbre, which again can at times be a little bit problematic, if the tuning hasn't been done right. But I don't know what it is, if it's the driver that they use of being a higher quality driver than what is usually the case, or if they've done some special mojo internally. What I do know is when you graph this IM, it doesn't have, let's say, what you would call a huge bass presence. But when you listen to it, then you feel that the bass is there, although the intention or the focus has been on providing a very high quality bass, and then it somehow just matches beautifully with the mids, the upper mids, and the treble. Absolutely incredible sounding IEM, a planar IEM in this case, especially if you are wanting or looking for a very detailed, focused presentation, a presentation which is highly technical. But and that's where the magic is, somehow it just manages to also pull off a very high degree of musicality. So well done there. So very nice planar IM. The next two are from a brand from Vietnam, which some might have heard of, which is AriaEar. This is the actual box here. And what is the thing about AriaEar? AriaEar is related to TXN Audio, which is the manufacturer of one of my favorite IMs of all time, the DES TI. It was an IM that I was loaned to by a fellow audiophile and enthusiast a couple of years ago, 2 years ago I think, or 3, I don't really recall. And to this day, it's one of the most impressive IMs I've listened to. End of story, period. The 4 BAs and the 4 planars, the 4 BAs and the 4 ESTs that it uses, I don't know, just pure magic. The closest IM I've had to it in terms of the overall style of tuning, although it doesn't have the same sort of magic, but the tuning style is very, very similar, is the NF Acoust NE4 4 BAs, and that's something else. That IM, that's a really impressive OBA IM as well. But anyway, the AriaEars, what I have here is 2 single EDs, the Sylva and the Azuri. The Sylva uses a wood diaphragm driver. The Azuri uses a magnesium alloy driver, like, actually, mind you, the IBasso, the Kli, and the IBasso, the Cookie Ti also use the same sort of driver. And the interesting thing about these 2 IEMs is they've got basically the same tuning. You see one graphing, you see the other, spot on. And this is the perfect example to see how a different diaphragm will dictate a different sound. Warm, lush, organic, old school type of valve presentation on the Sylva, modern solid state transistor, more detailed electronic kind of presentation on the Azuri. Both are absolutely phenomenal, priced at around the 130 to 150 price point. Solid IMs, solid single DD IMs. They've got an overall sound which is reminiscent of the sound of what you get on the MK12, the Turis, on what you get on, for example, the ODA, the One Dot Audio, the Helios. That sort of vibe, musical, without even a shadow of a doubt. Definitely top. Really, you guys are gonna enjoy the review on this. Let me tell you that much. And then finally, the HIdizs, the MP145Pro, well, the sequel to the original MP145, and an IM that I just have been blown away by how good it is in terms of everything, sound, the planar magic that it's, you know, absolutely incredible. I mean, I was one of the biggest, if probably not the biggest fan of the original MP145. You know, it was an IEM unfortunately clouded by some unnecessary bad mouthing with regards to them participating and doing some Save the Whales project that they did, and which is in effect, and when I received this IM, I received a whole bunch of pamphlets to that effect, and so that was and is a true project, a true thing that they are doing, and not just you know, a means to attract attention or something of the sort. Which back when the MP145 was launched, I heard a whole bunch of other reviewers talk all sorts of, you know, nonsense about HIdizs and trying to kind of jeopardize their image and put their image on check, when they should actually, in my opinion, just be quiet and not say anything, because they have absolutely got no no verticality, no reason to badmouth a company like HIdizs, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm not here to defend HIdizs. I'm just here to stating an opinion and what I think. As for the MP145 Pro, incredible planar IM. End of story. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna, honestly, I could now just carry on and start talking. Yeah, what I'm gonna say is all the magic that the original had has been improved upon, and the original was and is, for me, still one of the best planar IEMs that you can buy. End of story. Obviously, that's worth what it's worth. We don't all have to have the same opinion. You know, again, I also recall with the MP145, oh, because they've changed the tuning, they signed this, and they've changed the driver. Guys, let me put it to you this way. I've got 3 MP145s. 3. I opened every single one of them. Yes, there are a slight difference between 2 of them and the 1/3 one in terms of the driver. Okay? They are all the same in terms of tuning. They sound exactly the same. So whoever came up with that story, or whoever started, you know, propagating that story, should again just be quiet. Unless you are owning a whole bunch of the same IM and are actually testing, you cannot just open your mouth and say things like that. I can do it for the simple reason, and you guys that follow me for a while know, I am crazy enough. I've got a serious imbalance in my mental stability, that I just like buying multiple units of the same thing just to see if it's the same across the board. And in my now vast experience, what I can say is that there are imbalances. I've encountered imbalances. I've encountered all sorts of things. But for the majority of the times, the amount of consistency that is maintained is pretty impressive when you consider the dimensions that the IEMs have and the complexity that they have, especially when we are talking about hybrids. It's actually pretty impressive to maintain such a high level of quality control across the board. And this applies to everything. I've seen actually brands which are more expensive sometimes have more issues with the balance in terms of left and right channel and actually consistency of sound, as opposed to cheaper brands. Some people also talk a whole lot of, you know, about KZ, for example, and out of the dozens of IEMs I have from KZ, let's put it that way, dozens literally, I've got maybe 3 or 4 lemons, which I think that's pretty decent. And I've had other brands, for example, I'll give you the name, Moonjob, for example, their TWSs, the absolute garbage, and I will say it outright loud. Moonjob, you do not know how to manufacture TWSs. You should just leave TWSs alone, or leave it to companies that know what they're doing. Leave it to OnePlus. They do phenomenal TWSs. Leave it to QCY, for example. They do really good TWSs. Leave it to Realme. Leave it to Oppo. Leave it to Nothing. Leave it to Samsung even. Just get out of the game. I mean, seriously. I bought recently an Ultra, to try it out. It lasted 2 weeks. It's dead, doesn't play, nothing. I've done everything, and you know, try and get now any feedback from the company. The company doesn't even give the ability for you to be able to get a replacement or anything. And but this is something that Moondrop has done for many years. The issues that they've had over the years with the really bad quality, you know, and with some of their more expensive IEMs, it's just ridiculous. And that's it, guys. Ranting here a little bit. MP145Pro, top marks, really impressive. The offerings from AriaEar, the Azuri and the Sylva, incredible IEMs. The Sivga, the Nightingale Pro, if you like a more kind of diffuse type of presentation, this thing is phenomenal. The IR300 from Aune, solid single ED, solid single ED, a real properly done, properly tuned successor to the Jasper. T6 from Tinhifi, one of the nicest Tinhifis that I've heard, you know, apart from the Panda and the P1 Plus. Solid IM, really impressive. I was way more impressed with the magic of this than I've been from other IMs from them lately. Some of the IMs that they've launched lately have just been kind of basically copy paste, and this is a departure from that copy paste, and I'm really impressed by that. The Cookie Ti from IBasso, phenomenal single ED again. I mean, this is another one of those IEMs that just makes ultimately the decision of choosing a new IEM more complicated. And then finally here, the two DUNUs. Well, the Kima2, we already know, you know, a phenomenal IEM that just hasn't gotten that love that it should be getting, and the Titan X, for what it is, incredible IEM. It's got some tough competition, I won't deny, but incredible, also really good. So overall, some pretty impressive stuff coming your way. All right, if there's anything that in particular that you want me to test first, just let me know. Shoot in the, you know, just send me a message to this video, and I have no issues with doing that particular IEM first if there's more people voting for it. All right, so you know which one there is. Vote on which one you want me to review first. You take care now. Bye bye.